Hi. Thank you everyone for coming. It's a pleasure that only one seat is empty, but no worries. Yeah, I'm very happy. Thank you everyone at SchneidersLaden for allowing me to do this workshop. I'm here to represent Crosspatch. I'm just releasing the first Eurorack module. I think it's out since a couple of weeks, and it's a trigger sequencer. It's called Triggerpad. I think we can focus it here for the.
Upside down.
What is it?
Spin it.
Like this? You mean? No, I'm showing to the camera. Is it?
The other way around.
Upside down.
Yeah.
Thanks for help. I will need your eyes. Looks like. So yeah, it's a small module, as I said. It has only jacks, so only connectors. Has no buttons, no knobs, no sliders, because it's using 8x8 grid controllers like these ones that you can see here from Notion, the Launchpads, but it supports also Akai's APC minis, and every controller is a bit different. You know, you can have different features depending on the available features of these controllers. For example, here you have sliders. Some Launchpads have velocity-sensitive pads, and some are very old and probably just very dusty in some wardrobe. And it's a great chance, I think, to give these controllers a second life and reuse them in a way that's meaningful. And for us, for me, actually, for the company, it's great not to be forced to consume or to produce actually more plastic. So this is my small contribution to that. So I said it's a trigger sequencer, but it actually can do a bit more than just that. It's an idea that came since I left or quit a band, and I started to perform on my own, and I needed to have control over a bigger system. So I had to cover the melodic part, the rhythmic part, and it's actually very difficult to do that if you only have two hands. But luckily, I studied computer science, and I learned to program, and I programmed my own sequencers. My diploma thesis was a drum machine, and this is a small part of what could be a drum machine. It's the sequencing part. And what was important for me that you can perform having control over different layers of composition. So basically, if I think I should start making some sounds. What I want to show first is the most basic way of composing, I think. Like the instant composition is really a live composition. So finger drumming, it's what's most likely to be a direct way of playing things. So we have 8 channels divided in columns. This means that every channel has this Launchpad is connected to this trigger pad that is eventually connected to the drum voices. So we have a kick, snare, close hi-hat, open hi-hat, a cymbal, some rim, another snare, and this is the accent actually. It's a modded drum machine. I will not go into details, but these are the sounds, and luckily the circuit is reacting also to velocity. So the Triggerpad is is a sequencer for dynamic triggers, which means that you can have different dynamics over the sounds you're playing. And so on. So yeah, finger drumming, I'm not very good at that, but I will try to demonstrate a bit how cool that could be. I will stop here because I think it was enough, right? Is there anyone who is good at finger drumming? Any finger drummer here? Yeah, you're good? You practice? You play drums. Oh. Finger drumming also? Yeah. Do it. So, would you come and show some finger drumming a bit better than I did? And for that occasion, maybe you could be happy to use Launchpad that has velocity-sensitive pads, okay? Because here it's spread over the rows, the velocity. But here, we can just hot swap it, actually. Please go. What's your name? Rick. Hi, Rick. Thanks for joining us. This is the first experiment of today. So let's play. So these are now. Yeah. You have snare, kick, snare, hi-hat, open hi-hat, cymbals. Enjoy.
How you record?
How?
Like you need to
You want to record it?
No, just.
No, let's just start with playing. Then we'll see how we record later. It's great. You just stole my sound, my song. It was the cover. Thank you very much, Rick. So let's go back to the small one. It fits better in the video. And as he suggested already, yes, of course, there must be a way of also recording it. So let's record it. Usually, it's nice to have an anchor. So I will use just the track of the hi-hat. And then I can record either quantized or not quantized. But let's start with quantized. This, you saw, it's not the best. So this is the result of the recordings. It has 64 steps and makes a nice loop that it's not so immediate as the 16-step we are used to, or 8-step even. But nevertheless, it gives you the possibility of add a lot of variations. And then after recording, of course, you can edit it. But if you're not satisfied, you can also just select all the channels and press erase, and then everything is again empty. And you can continue with a different thing, maybe try it not quantized. So the non-quantized recording is actually also quantized, but 2 substeps. Each step has 8 substeps. So it gives a resolution of 128 notes, which is quite nice, but it's not, I just feel like it's fair to say that it's not really unquantized because it's a different thing. So let's use again another anchor point, so just to see how not quantized it is. And we start it. And here we can record it. Now that we recorded not quantized, we can see each step what has recorded. And we can see by holding the step we recorded, we can see on the top row 2 substeps. And on the right column, there is the velocity of that step. This means that if I just play the kick drum, actually I want to play just this section. So I hold it, and then the active part shows up. This is how you resize, and then let's say we want to play just this and just the first channel. We see this was recorded, and I can edit that now. This was quite on time. Well, just the first one was a bit off. Getting better. So now that I fixed it, I can also play it again together. Actually, I can select all the channels and say, just play on all channels just this row. So this makes it like the active row is just this one now. So if you like Latino rhythms, this is a way of doing it. Or if you don't like it, you can again select everything and just hit erase. So this is like the next stage of control you can have over a composition. Once you go further into it, if you want to if you already, let's say you already recorded a pattern, you want to play with that pattern. So let me just recall, or even better, I will make another quick pattern, quantized obviously because you saw how I suck. And now I will save this pattern as a scene. These are like 64 scenes that you can use. Like you can use these slots to save 64 different patterns. Each of these slots contains all the patterns of the 64 steps for each channel. So right now we saved it on this spot. No, I don't know where I put it. Where did I put it? Was it this one? I lost it, but don't panic, don't panic. We will use a better pattern now. Ah, this is the one. All right, then everything's fine. Okay, so at this point, I want to add maybe some groove. To help me make some groove, I have a shuffle option, which is this page where you can edit the amount of shuffle on the top bar. And this is the shuffle pattern. This means that the steps that are on these lit pads will be delayed or squeezed actually towards the end of it. It's maybe even more heard if you, let's say we just use straight hi-hat that will show us the different levels of shuffle. You saw I also changed the length of the hi-hat pattern, which is different than the ones. Each channel can have a different pattern length, so this makes it possible to make also polyrhythmic rhythms. For example, we could use and this can be also a way of playing with the composition, so changing the length and changing the groove with the shuffle. When you want to go a step further in that, you don't want to think about the details of the specific step, because you already built let's say a pattern or multiple patterns, and then you maybe have also other gear you want to concentrate on your gig, and this is just let's say a drummer body that will do whatever you tell him to do, and you agreed before which patterns are possible, and on he will react at the move of your finger, which in this case is my finger here, and let's say, and I have prepared exactly these things, so multiple patterns. You can hear them here. And so on. And what I can do now is, while I'm playing this thing, I could just let this run and have it change. I have a fill. So it's possible to switch between scenes, between these patterns, within the same pattern. You don't need to wait until the end. And you can create new patterns live by switching between them before the end of this pattern. This is what I was doing here. So, for example, if I like the ending of one pattern, I can switch just before that to that pattern and then go back to it, to the previous one. And so on. So this is like the highest level that you could have regarding composition. But then what about dynamics? So this is a dynamic trigger sequencer. This means that it should also be able to handle dynamics, right? And there is a page about that helps you deal with dynamics. Let me just play just the kick. Maybe it will be easier to understand what are the capabilities or the advantages of using dynamic triggers. So again, I will just write in like as a step sequencer that different steps with different velocity. I can also say, okay, this selected, while I'm holding one, I can say, okay, these selected steps I want them to be the same, so I keep them selected and I change all of those steps to the same velocity at the same time. Same I can do with the sub-steps. For example, I say this one has a velocity of 3, or actually 4, and the first and the fourth sub-step are turned on, but I want this step to have the same properties. So while I'm holding it, these are the default settings that will be copied around the pads. So if we listen to the first channel, okay, it's quite loud, but we can change. So this is the page that you have to imagine it like a mixer, but it's not not necessarily a mixer of volume, but it can be switched between mixer of pulse length of that steps or actually the level of that step. You can switch between those. It's a bit takes a while maybe to get it right, but the effect is very clear. If it actually reacts, I was just shortening the length of the pulse, and the effect is actually the one like having maybe a high-pass filter or just lowering the volume of it. On the bottom, there is the mute, so you can also have this as a let's call it control room. For example, if you are playing a pattern, you can control separate channels with muting, unmuting, and affecting the levels on this page. So this is like the dynamic span you can have. You can control with the trigger pad. There's 8 levels, and mainly I think there are a few features that maybe could be interesting. Like clocking, so you have a clock input, clock output, a reset. I have these 2 trigger pads connected, and I could also make them run together and maybe play just a bit, just to get, now that you've seen the way this works, maybe also how you can use this in a performance. So I would start from 0. I'm loading an empty slot, which makes an empty slot here. And I will say this, so this Launchpad here is connected to this trigger pad that is actually modulating the oscillator, the polygogo here. It affects some parameters that shape the color of the sound, but also the melody. And this is also an aspect of trigger sequencer, maybe that it's not so common to see. This is using a trigger sequencer to modulate, to create melodies. So let me show you these two channels control the gate and the melody of the oscillator. So here we have the length of the pulse quantized to the length of the step. So it will actually hold a voltage from the beginning to the end of the step. And we can sequence then different levels of these steps, creating a steppy modulation. If we tune, so I will go back to the to this view where we can finger drum. We have actually a range that is divided equally in 8 parts, and thus we can achieve a prototype of a scale. So something that depends on the possibilities of tuning, but in the end, notes are divided, the range is divided equally spaced into 8 equal parts. This is why this if I set an octave between the lowest, kind of, I will get sort of a weird scale. So and here again I have different lengths of the pattern. And again, I can create between the melody, the pattern that sets the melody and the gate pattern, a different ratio, creating a evolving, sort to say, melodic part. Here I have the kick. That's it. What it's maybe here a bit more hard to get on this specific Launchpad, maybe it can be easier to see on a Akai that has faders. So as I said, it's possible to hot swap between them, which means I can unplug this one and it will continue to run. And now I plug this one in. It just continues where it left. Now I have all the faders at my disposal, and I can use it automatically. They are mapped to the level. But some channels are have the level and the length swapped, so we have to remap some of these channels, and that's simple because we just need to hold the feature that we want to map to this. In this case, we're talking about the length of the pulse. So we're holding this feature on the sidebar, and I say, okay, now while moving, I'm mapping this feature to this slider, this one, all of them, because I touched everything. So now I actually have dynamics on the faders.
Yeah.
The last one is always master, so affecting all of the fader, all of the channels that don't have the same feature. So if I want to have it affecting everything, I should map it also to this. Oh, okay, then it's not that. Then I erase it. Okay. So this is how you can control also a live performance with faders. What I wanted to show you also is, if I unplug it, I can connect it actually to this one. It's the oldest Launchpad that can be supported by Triggerpad. It has a limited number of, so it detects that it's not an Akai and it has no faders, so it brings up all the levels again, and you can use this controller without any limitations like it was before. The lights here, the LEDs are and red and green, which gives you just, I think, 8 different shades of, like 8 different colors. in combination. So it's a bit more limiting, but all the features are the same. So if you have such controller at home and want to use it, it's totally doable. You can see all the features are exactly the same. So one thing, maybe since this one is a bit bigger, I can also show. This is the BPM page, which I didn't show before. If I have still some a minute, I will finish shortly. So the BPM page has also a fast way of changing the BPM. It's enough just to push under or over the on the lower or the higher side of the number, and it will change the BPM. One interesting thing is that you can also dial in the exact BPM you want, and then it only changes when you lift the finger. But also you can also double tap on each feature to lock the view, like here, and then it's actually it's affected instantly. If you like to dial in with tapping the tempo, you can also tap the tempo. If you don't like, these are the decimals. Thank you. If you don't like decimals to be weird number, this is a 9 and this is a 7. I can show also quickly. This is 6. That we all know this from dice. So it's 8, 10, 9, 0. So if you have like a weird number and I don't like this, it's too complicated, you just hit erase and it zeroes out and you're back to what you prefer. So that's it about channel dividers. Okay, you can set the clock to internal or external. You can set the divider of the clock input and the clock output. You can set a multiplier of the clock input. I'll go just quickly through these boring numbers, but basically what it allows you to do is set the clock output so low that it goes to 96. So this will give you probably, I think it's quarter notes. But just you do the math. So it's a very slow thing, and you can then use it with other sequencers that maybe don't have all these possibilities of setting the dividers at the input and the output. I think this is mainly what you can also chain. This is just I'm running through this feature that I forgot about. You can chain also the scenes. You can chain them. You can make like long chains. You can make short chains. You can switch in between chains immediately, as I showed before. All of these things are possible. So. If you have any questions, I think we can move to the Q&A side of this workshop. What a rush!
Is there like a buffer in the module which say like how you unplugged it and it was still going?
Yes.
So the module like saves 64 steps of whatever was last happening, and then it uploads it to the next thing you connected to.
Okay, now, yeah, this is exactly the best question, because the brain is in the module. Yeah. Every thing you do is built up and saved in the module. There is no memory or no information of these patterns coming from the pads. This is why you can unplug it and have it still running, because this is just the user interface. It's like a display, you know.
So does then the module change the operating system somehow of the Launchpad? Or is it just doing what the Launchpad normally does and it comes out of the module?
It communicates with the Launchpad. It learns, first it asks, okay, which Launchpad or which controller are you? And then when the module knows what is it communicating with, then it adapts all the LEDs, all the communication with it and from it to make it work as expected. So it's all of these controllers are compatible, because there is no rhythm stored in the pad. Is everything? This is just the. This is, look at this like a screen and a keyboard at the same time, or like touch screen.
Yeah.
Very low resolution touch screen.
I've never used a Launchpad before.
Yeah.
But is everything that happened on the Launchpad is what a Launchpad does? Does that make sense? Like, are there things that the module brings to the Launchpad which changes the functionality of the Launchpad itself? Or is the Launchpad just sending its information out of the module? Does that make sense?
And I'm not sure I.
Doesn't save any information in it. It doesn't.
Right.
It only lights up the LEDs and turns them off. The Launchpad, you plug it into your laptop.
Yeah.
You can control your
Sure.
DAW with it.
Yeah.
All the
But in terms
logic
of like
is in
changing
the
the pattern
computer.
length and all this stuff like that. Is
These
stuff
are
that
all
Launchpad
features.
normally does.
No, this also, all this user interaction, user interface, user experience is the result of my work.
Okay.
It's not a feature that you can find, or not exactly in the same manner that you can find in Launchpads.
Oh, okay.
Especially these ones that are the cheapest range, they have no such thing as sequencing options or
Yeah, I
stuff
know
like
what
this.
you do, but that's a huge
There-
thing then, though, right?
There are Launchpads. Thank you. There are Launchpads that are a bit more pricey and have also sequencing capabilities. They are also compatible with the Triggerpad, but I think that just the combination of the price doesn't make sense to combine them together.
Okay, so you're bringing more functionality to the Launchpad through the module.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is
All
what
the
I'm saying.
functionality,
Yeah,
actually.
Because as I said, I don't know a Launchpad. I
Yeah.
don't know if it does X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
So that's really cool that it makes the Launchpad do all these things that it doesn't
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too bad I didn't start with that. It must have been a boring presentation. You're showing just the Launchpad features.
One more take. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all features. Also, with the module, you get these stickers that you can put. You can put them next to the sidebar and have like a reminder of what this do. And also all these scenes, all these patterns that you save on the Launchpad, you can also store them on a USB key. If you just need to hold a step, and then which one is this? This one. You unplug it, now it blinks and shows you, okay, I will save these 64 steps on the USB key you will plug now in. Or the other thing you can do is to load. Let's say, okay, I want to load something from the USB key, and now it's blinking green, and next USB key you plug in, it will read the file number. I mean, you can read the manual now for details, but basically you can load up and save 64 collections of scenes. There's 64.
That's a lot.
Yeah, more than I can remember. Even chaining 64 64 scenes. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe makes sense sometimes. Yeah. Any more questions? No?
Were the two pads connected to just one trigger pad?
No. There are two trigger pads. One is here and one is here. One was connected only to a drum machine, and the other one was used for modulation of the oscillator, and it was triggering the universal slope generator that also has an input that reacts to different levels of triggers. On this note, I would also add that, okay, this is a modified drum machine that I built, but actually I'm making tests with other drum modules to see which ones are reacting and not. I will make a list of these, but I'm happy to say that most of them at least react to the trigger length. So you can still use dynamics, but just with a different dimension, so to say. Actually, also this module here that I built has most of the voices not reacting only to the length of the trigger, not to the level, because it has S triggers. No bad word meant, but that's just the name. Yeah, but there are modules that actually react to both things. They're like both the level and the length of the trigger, and this really gives you a lot of dynamic, a lot of expression without even using an accent channel or stuff like this.
And the trigger pad that was connected to the modular synthesizer, can it also save the sounds that are coming through the?
No, there's no like wave or audio saving. It's just triggers that actually can become so long. There are triggers that have a length quantized to the step, and with different levels, you can create steppy modulation that you can then connect to an input that has, for example, this one is exponential input of the frequency of the module, and what you save is actually the melody if you interpret these values as melody. But you can plug this same steppy modulation to something else, and it will be something else. Okay, if that's it. Thank you for coming.